I'm Indy Skies, and you're listening to the Project K podcast.
That was good. Yeah, yeah, we're doing the intros for the podcast a little differently, just testing it out, seeing if it works. If it doesn't, then we'll go back to how it was before. But no,
the
that was
test
really
dummy on that
that
one.
was really good. That was really good. But yeah, welcome back to the Project K podcast. Today we have Indy Skies. Thank you so much for being here. And for those that don't know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm an artist from Auckland. I've been doing music for a few years now, and sort of going through different genres. But yeah, I'll just say I'm an artist right now, yeah.
Awesome. You can see you've been doing music for a few years now. How did music start for you? Like when was the moment where you were like, I actually want to take this seriously. I think I can make a career out of this.
Right. Well, I've always been around music. My dad had always had instruments around the house, so I was always playing the guitar and stuff like that. And then one day I saw someone playing the guitar at school, and I was like, I want to learn that song. I think they were singing Achy Breaky Heart. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to learn that. So I memorized where the fingers were on the guitar. And then as soon as I like kept that image in my head, and then as soon as I got home, I was like, okay. And then I like remembered where they put their fingers, and I was able to play the song. And then I was like, okay, I can actually do this. And then, yeah, I just kept practicing and writing songs, and yeah, just didn't stop.
Would you say it came kind of naturally to you?
Yeah, I would say it came naturally. But I didn't always want to be a musician. I sort of just had it on the side because I had really bad stage fright.
Yeah.
So I was like, I could barely, like my parents couldn't even pay to get me to sing in front of them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a doctor. And then I was like, actually, not that smart. So, yeah, then I fell in love with music.
And where did the name Indy Skies come from? Like, how did you come up with that name? Because it's not your real name.
It's not my real name. Yeah, with Indy Skies, I was trying to find a good artist name, and I had like a whole notebook filled with ideas, but Indy Skies kind of popped out because it has like a couple different meanings. Because my aesthetic is sort of like the sky, and I'm obsessed with stars. I'm obsessed with anything to do with the night sky.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like I'm in the skies, like, and then also my real name is Emma, so it's like Emma's also in disguise when I'm on stage and stuff like that. So yeah, it just sounded nice. I liked it.
Nice. And what would you say, or like, what kind of differences? Wait, no, let me rephrase that question. Could you just kind of explain to us, kind of like the difference between Indy and Emma, and how your artist persona kind of differs from who you really are?
Right, yeah, there's a pretty big difference, to be honest. Like, Indy Skies is sort of like an alter ego, and yeah, they're just very different. Indy, I sort of like, when I'm Indy Skies, I put on a completely different mask and a completely different persona to protect like my other self and keep the two worlds separate. Because yeah, that's quite important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say, or how would you describe your kind of like artist style if someone was to, ask you like, what kind of aesthetic do you try to portray, or what kind of style you have as an artist? Like, what would you kind of say to that?
That's a very good question because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. I'm very uncensored and very just like, I would just say, yeah, like I don't really have a filter. Like I'm pretty just like what you get is what you get. And I really like to kind of like let other people feel like that. Like in a world where everything is so censored and so like you have to be like really careful and walking on eggshells, like I think people should be more authentic to themselves and not be as scared to like just be themselves. Like, even if it's weird as hell, like, just do it. Like, like, who cares?
And is that the same for when you sing compared to when you rap? Because when I listen to, a song like Off the Leash, and then I listen to a D&B track that you've been on where you sing, I notice a lot of differences.
It's quite a stark contrast, isn't it?
It's.
Yeah.
I think this what stood out for me was the subject matter just is completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say you kind of like approach the two genres in a very different way?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. I was thinking I should probably have like two different aliases for the two, but I think it's all coming together now. I'm really merging the two worlds, but I think I'm just, yeah, everything I do is just super authentic to how I'm feeling at the time. And so yeah, if I'm feeling like rage and like whatever, I'll do a track like Off the Leash, and then obviously like the lovey-dovey stuff I'll also do. And I don't really try and stop myself because I need like to be in this sort of image. I kind of just do what feels natural at the time, even if it's completely different to my last release. Like, I'm okay with that, and I don't really care what people think. Like, yeah, it's all making sense now, and it will make sense in the future for people to look back to see like where the roots came from to what's happening now.
Yeah.
For me and my next releases.
And do you think you continue like going about your music this way with both singing and rapping? Or are you leaning more towards one, or?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards. I'm in love with rapping. I just love everything about that, and the communities in Auckland and Wellington. So I love everything about rapping, and I also love D&B as well. So that's why I want to merge the two, and you'll definitely see me rapping more on drum and bass tracks and like in the kind of dance sphere.
Yeah.
And just finding a way to make my own lane, because like I don't want to give up either.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just make my own lane for it.
Yeah, you're really good at both, and
It's really hard to choose.
Yeah.
They're like my babies. I'm like, yeah, no, it's crazy.
No, yeah. You've become quite frequent within the kind of like D&B scene, which is it's hugely popular. Tell me about the first time someone approached you to do like a track, to feature on a D&B track.
Right.
Yeah, because it's I want to say it's very different from rapping.
Yeah, it is. No, it completely is. Especially because like I started off as a pop singer, so I fully produced my own album when I like the first year I started doing music and producing. I made it I made a whole album by myself and released it, and it was dog shit. Like, it was really bad. But I released it, and then a promoter heard it and like heard my voice, and then some Twirl, who's a drum and bass producer, was in Auckland, and he asked the promoter, like, do you know any vocalists I could work with in Auckland? And for some reason the promoter gave him my name, which was really weird because I just had that like ass album out. Like, I didn't even release any singles, I just went straight to the album.
Yeah.
And I was just like, here I am. And then so Twirl reached out to me with this track and was like, yo, do you want to hop on it? And then I just recorded it that day. A couple of days later I sent it back, and yeah, it went from there, and now that song is huge. So yeah, that was wild.
And with the amount of D&B tracks you're doing, I remember you mentioned to me yesterday that that comes with dealing with managers and I assume they're just managers of the artists and stuff, and trying to like make deals with
like
you.
teams,
Yeah. Like how do you find, I guess, pretty much being your own manager?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult managing myself. I've had to be a lot more organized and on top of everything. and it's obviously quite daunting, like looking into the business side of everything and like trying to put on the different hats when I wasn't the best at school. But I've like picked up a lot of skills and I've learned so much from it, and I'm actually quite happy managing myself at the moment, and until I find the right person or team. But yeah, it's definitely been a big learning experience,
Yeah.
but you make a lot of mistakes and you learn from those mistakes, so
Yeah.
lots of mistakes, lots of failures, but that's okay, and I can live with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like you said, as long as you learn from it.
Exactly. You learn something every single time, and like, one thing I can't stress enough is that you have to be okay with failing, and you have to be okay with falling down. Like, saying yes to things and just going and doing things, even though you're, like, terrified or you don't think that you're good enough, just do it, because even if, like, it sucks, people will forget about it, you know? Like, people
yeah.
only remember what's good.
Yeah.
Or, like, if it's really bad, then they're still paying attention to you at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you know? So I always do things and go out and, like, put myself out there, because it gives me a chance to, even if I do bad, like, prove people wrong.
Yeah.
I love proving people wrong.
Would you say you learn best by doing things compared to, I guess, I don't know.
Like, researching.
Yeah, like
kinda,
researching it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. How I got into rapping actually is by being thrown in the deep end. I was in a studio. I was like in this random studio, and there was just like all these like tough ass rappers. Like, they were all like, you know, like, tough. And then there's me, and there, like, I had never rapped before that night. I was on my pop stuff, Billie Eilish stuff. And then that night, I had thought about getting into rapping, and my producer, Checkered Patterns, he was there, and he was like, yo, why don't you get up to the mic and just spit something? And I'm like, wow, in front of all these dudes? Like, I'm terrified. And he's like, no, just do it. So big shout out to him, because that was the first time I rapped, and it was in front of all these, like, tough-ass rappers. And I just, like, felt so exhilarated, and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm gonna take rapping seriously.
No, that's really cool, because I'm sort of the same in the sense that, you know, I tend to learn best when I throw into the deep end.
Yeah, you swim, you make it out of there, you know.
Because yeah, like the way I see it is just you almost have no choice but to swim, and
Yeah.
yeah, you just got to take the opportunity.
And using that fight or flight is so good. Yeah, it's really cool.
No, because as soon as you at least like take a couple seconds to think about it, I feel
The
like
self-doubt and the logic, you know, it's not always the best thing to listen to logic. Sometimes you have to, be primal about it, I guess. It's always good to think, though. You should always think about decisions. Don't be a complete loose cannon. Like, have some boundaries.
But also make mistakes as well. It's the best way you learn.
Yeah, like, make mistakes wisely. Make wise mistakes. Yes.
And how do you find it being an independent artist? You know, managing. I mean, I'm trying to try and make the question sound different to the one I asked earlier. But how do you find it as an independent artist, especially when you've been doing this for only a few years?
Well, luckily it's sort of gradual, like the workload and everything like that. Yeah, it's sort of I feel a lot more pressure now, and I feel a lot more pressure to be doing things properly, and to be doing things right, I guess, and that's sort of stressful because I don't know what's right all the time, or what is like the proper way to do things, and it's like, it's embarrassing sometimes when I'm like talking to like people behind the scenes, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know like how to come across, and it's like, it's definitely daunting, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all about the art, and it's all about the music. So I couldn't live without music. Like, this is the only reason. This is my reason to be here. So, yeah.
Nice. Um,
Just got to do it.
Nike. And how is it? How is it in Auckland? Like the music scene up there? You know, like being an independent artist. Like I've noticed, and I talk about this quite a lot. Wellington and Auckland are two very, very different cities and two very, very different
very
music
different
scenes.
vibes.
Yeah,
Completely.
like how do you find it up there?
I I do like it up there. Like I've got my people and I love the community, but it is definitely more cliquey up there, which I'm pretty sure most people will talk about.
You're not the first person to tell
Yeah,
me
I'm
that.
sure I'm not the first person to say that. But like it's just I guess it's all about who you know, and you can't really like sum things up in cities, but there's definitely like a overarching vibe. Yeah, I think I love the community down here more. Like it's more like inclusive and more, I don't know, it's more like creative. But in Auckland I feel like there's a lot more pressure for me personally. I feel like there's a lot more pressure about how I carry myself around other creatives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have too much experience down here, but I can definitely see there's like a bit of a divide. Yeah.
Yeah. Naomi and Dylan talked about that, and I mentioned that I feel like the reason for that is just in Auckland. I think, well, from my perspective, it seems like such a almost like the big city, like, and it just gives off big city vibes, and that comes with doing music, doing anything in that creative environment. Whereas in Wellington, I'm not saying it's not like that, but I feel like we are just very chill down here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, do you notice that when?
I do notice
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I think Wellington just has a really nice vibe to it. Yeah, I really like the vibe down here.
Yeah. And how important is it for you? Oh, just going off on a different type question. How important is it for you to surround yourself with, you know, like-minded individuals and just overall good people? You know, whether they be people in the industry or, just your friends.
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think it's very important who you surround yourself with, especially in music and anything entertainment. Like you have to be really careful, and just make sure you're around like positive people and also people that can like be real with you. I have to surround myself with people that are straight up with me, and that can tell me how it is. And kind of keep me in check, like when I'm being a little bit too like uncensored.
That's what I was gonna
Like
ask.
don't get cancelled, like that sort of stuff. It's important.
No, yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask. Just, like, when you find yourself kind of if you do find yourself getting too ahead of you,
Yes.
like do you have people that just bring you
Yeah,
back
I
down
have
to earth?
people. I have people in my close circle that are brutally honest with me, and then I have people that are super like positive and super like very very supportive, and it's really nice having those two kind of contrasting because it gives me like it just gives me like a really good support system, and I know who to go to when I need like honest opinions, and I know
Yeah.
who to go to when I need support and like a bit of an uplift.
Yeah,
And I'm so grateful that I have both. Yeah.
that's awesome. I feel like it's something very important to have, especially when
Yeah.
you're in the music industry.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
easy to get like jaded in this like whole world and disconnected from reality, I guess. And also with social media, it's so easy to just fall into like a hole of disillusionment. If that makes sense, like you're not connected to the real world if like your whole life is online.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm also very very wary of that, and I don't want that to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I was just trying to think. I was like, wait, what do you mean by disillusion?
Just so not connected to reality.
Yeah.
Which is what social media is. It's just a bunch of, it's not real. It's just not real.
Yeah.
Even if like you could come across like everything's real, but there's always things that it's just not real life. Well, we're going like real existential now. she's just not real. Nothing's real. No. You know what I mean, though. Like,
Yeah. I get what
sorry,
you're
it feels like
saying.
a very weird way of explaining it.
No. It's
Stating the obvious, huh? Yeah.
it's all good.
Also, aliens. No, I'm just kidding.
Um.
We're on Joe Rogan now.
Do you watch Joe Rogan?
I love Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan podcasts, and also Jordan Peterson, Russell Brand, Logan Paul. I actually watch Logan Paul podcast Impulsive every week.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed to say that out loud. It's dope.
Yeah. That's alright. I've watched them a couple times if there's someone on there that, I'm interested in watching. Yeah.
And also Logan Paul's evolved a lot. He's become a lot better than obviously what he was previously. Since the incident.
Since what happened.
Yeah. People grow, and like that's why I hate cancel culture, because oh my gosh, like if some, it's just not cool. Like people change, and people grow, and people get better, and so you can't like dig up somebody's past and be like, oh, you did this, so you're cancelled.
It's really
it's
annoying.
ridiculous. Like if the people that are like doing the cancelling, if someone went through their life and went through their baggage and went through like, they would just be cancelled. They would be cancelled as well. Like we're all human.
I used to work for a local publication in Wellington, and I wrote an article about cancel culture.
Yeah.
And
that's so bad.
Yeah, it's like, I think I feel like some people are just bored, and they just want to, like you said, they just dig up
bored, or they're fucking
things.
bots, like honestly.
Yeah, it's just, like you said, people make mistakes, and
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I think we need to have more of an emphasis on that, and kind of accepting that people make mistakes instead of tearing them down. Like if you make the same mistake repeatedly, then of course there's a thing there. But yeah, man, it's rough. It's scary. Like you got to really like be on check for what you say, and it's really hard.
Yeah, it sucks.
And we've got receipts everywhere now on social media, and it's like, of course we're gonna like mess up. Yeah, we're super flawed as a species. Like severely flawed.
Oh, man, I hate going through seeing like on Facebook memories like what you used to say like a few years
my
ago.
gosh, yeah, I dug up my old Twitter from when I was 12. Oh my gosh, the tweets that I would post is absolutely ridiculous.
That's alright. We've all
like why was I allowed Twitter at 12? Like why? I don't know, man. That's why it scares me. Like all these kids having social media now. It's like you are gonna regret so much when you're older, and like you get like things sent back to you. It's not gonna be fun. Be careful. But then that's why social media, it's really treacherous, because like you do have to be careful what you say, because you don't want to like get in trouble or like, but then it also is like you also want to be authentic and you want to be true to yourself, so it's like finding the lines is quite hard sometimes.
Yeah, and people can just very easily misinterpret things.
Exactly,
as well.
and that's the thing, But in real life, like they'll probably forget about it or be able to have a discourse with you. Yeah. If something happens, like if you say something in conversation, or do something, it's just a lot more easier to contain and resolve. But online, oh my god.
This is sort of the same, sort of not the same, but it's like, it's taking a very small part of what we talked about just on like the social media, the whole thing, and like just interacting with people within the industry online compared to actually meeting them in person. I find it's more beneficial to meet them in person compared to just. I mean, it's good to talk online, but just when. Oh, what am I trying to say?
I hear you. I hear you. It's different. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's better to just be the person.
Be there in person, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Although I have a lot of friends that I've never really met in the industry, just through Instagram.
Yeah.
And like we just like keep check on each other and like message each other and support each other, especially like international. It's always good to like I have friends from overseas that I've never met, but I feel like if I met them in real life, it would just feel completely normal, and like we'd already known each other for ages, which is kind of the cool thing about that. But yeah, nothing beats a real life connection.
Yeah.
Especially with like fellow artists and musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I touched on this a bit in the last episode with Dylan, but what do you think is something that's that's important for like people wanting to break into the industry, and like upcoming artists, or just anyone wanting to get into music? Like we talked about how important networking is. Is there anything else that
So
you would see as a quite like an important factors?
Yeah, well, you obviously have to like have some talent that helps.
Yeah.
But like again, like hard work can beat that if you're like really dedicated. Networking is probably the number one. I think every connection that I've got has stemmed from a couple connections at the start, and just me like being on top of everything. I only needed to know a handful of people, and through that handful of people, I've met so much more.
Yeah.
So just being like really vigilant on like going out constantly and like going to networking events. Also just not being too hard on yourself, I think, is really important. Especially at the start, because you're obviously not going to be where you want to be, and comparing yourself to other artists like around you.
Yeah.
It's probably the hardest part. Like I dealt with it. I was like always comparing myself to other people. So yeah, just being easy on yourself, but using that as motivation, and like being happy for other people's success, I think is important, and like supporting them because they're gonna support you.
Yeah.
But just supporting them in general, you know.
Yeah. No, it's not that supporting people. Everyone is tough, but I feel like it's tough for some people nowadays to, I guess, be happy for their peers when they, when they're like.
See, I understand that, but I feel like that's super backwards, and I think that's why maybe New Zealand.
No, keep going. Sorry.
That's why New Zealand like has a problem with tall poppy syndrome. Oh, that probably is tall poppy syndrome, but
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. Like, I don't understand how people can be like sourly jealous like at other people. Like, it just makes no sense to me. Because one person's success does not take away from your own success. If anything, you should be super happy for them that they get to experience that.
Yeah.
And I think it just comes down to like we're all human, and we're all experiencing this life together. Like, we should really be happy for people's successes, because that could have been us.
Yeah.
And like we could have been born into there, and like just letting it inspire you and motivate you, and just like healthy competition as well. Like seeing what people are doing and being like, that is dope. That inspired me to do this. Like, let's see where I can take this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's super important. Don't be jealous. Don't compare yourself to other people, because you're on your own journey. And if you just compare yourself to who you were yesterday, that is so much better.
Yeah.
And it's so inspiring when you like can see yourself getting better every day. Obviously with the little hiccups though, there's always gonna be like fallbacks, or like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was ass. But like if you're dedicated and you're doing it for the right reason, you're gonna be better than you were yesterday, and keep going. It takes time. You can't like be like, oh, I'm gonna be an artist, like I'm gonna be like the most successful fucking musician in New Zealand, and you've like just started. It's not how it works. Yeah, there's lots that goes behind the scenes, and lots of like years that people don't see on the artists coming up. They don't see the years before that it took to like refine their skills and everything like that. So don't yeah, always second guess what you're seeing. I
Yeah.
think always take it with a grain of salt. When you see someone like blow up out of the blue, it's not it's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah. Because you talked about, people don't actually see the work that's being put in. And I heard this, it was a quote I heard, I can't remember when, but it's always just stuck with me is people are rewarded in public for the work that they do in private.
Yeah.
And it's a huge thing because someone could just see an artist that's just blowing up, but what they didn't see is, you know,
Yeah, everything that led up to that point.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much effort and time a lot of artists put into their craft. Like, it's insane what some people do, and like the hours that they put in and what they sacrifice and all the investments and everything like that. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. Obviously, there are some people that are luckier than others, and I think luck definitely comes into play. Basically, like if you're in the right time, right place, if you've got the
Yeah.
right sound, everything like that. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and I don't think people talk about it that much because it kind of takes away the magic,
Yeah.
which is very true. But I think it's cool. I think it's cool having a mission and working really hard towards something that you love to do.
Yeah.
It's always going to be rewarding if you love it.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Like the more work you put in, the better it's gonna
Yeah,
feel.
you're just improving yourself, and you're just becoming a better human, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
cool.
No, I do feel that's
It's
very,
free therapy as well.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
needed therapy. Maybe I should actually. I'm like, maybe I do need therapy. But yeah, you just like you feel any type of emotion, and you just have that outlet, and I'm so grateful. Like I was talking to my ex, and he was like, it kind of sucks. Like you have this outlet and avenue that you can put all your like heartbreak into, I guess, and your emotions. I don't have that. And I was like, damn, that's actually true. Like I can just get it all out and feel fine.
Yeah.
Whereas for other people, it's probably a lot harder to kind of process their emotions
Yeah.
if they're not creative. So yeah.
Do you think expressing like your emotions through your music is your own personal way of kind of like dealing with it and working through it, or
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I am very authentic in my music.
yeah, I'm joking.
I write all my lyrics. I do it all myself, and I'm very like hands-on with the production as well. I love to co-produce with people, and just get out exactly how I'm feeling, and it's so beautiful to turn like a sad emotion or like an ugly emotion into something
Yeah.
beautiful and like palatable, and then you kind of like come to terms with it, and you like make friends with your demons, I guess. Like I think doing music for me is like definitely like making friends with my demons and making them something that's like that's nice, and then it gets out of my system.
No, yeah, it's no, yeah, it's really, I think it shows a lot of maturity and progress if you're able to turn those emotions and, like you said, demons and that.
So it's like, sorry, I always use that. I'm always like, me and my demons. But no, we're good. We're Gucci.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I think it shows a lot of like maturity as an artist as well to be able to turn that into,
Yeah.
like a beautiful piece of artwork.
Yeah. Shining the light on them. Yeah, I think it's... Oh, what was I going to say? Yeah. No, it's definitely something that I'm grateful to be able to do, and to be able to like really turn what I'm feeling into something tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been cool, and like getting better at that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Do you with your music, do you kind of look back at some of the old songs you make and kind of just see them as not just you progressing as an artist, but kind of like certain stages of your life, like even when you were like,
That's interesting.
yeah, like using your,
Like timestamps,
yeah,
sort of?
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. I'm very critical on my past work. It definitely like it's like a little time capsule for like how I've grown and like even just like the people that I surround myself with or like the environments that I surround myself with, you can really see through my music.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I actually hate listening to my old music though. Like it's not great. And I'm sure I'll say that about the music that I'm releasing now. And like, catch me in a few years being like, oh, 2023 was ass. Yeah, but I think there's like a healthy level of that because you have to be like aware that you're always gonna improve and get better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm never gonna like settle and be like I'm the man. Like there's always something you can do. There's always like higher heights you can go to. I always say, I love that saying. It's like, the sky isn't the limit. It's not like there's no limit. You know, really take that how you
The
how
limit
you
does not
believe.
exist.
Yeah, and yeah, it could be like misconstrued into something else, like into other things, but having that saying the sky isn't the limit is something that I'm really like I'm all about breaking out of kind of like breaking out of stereotypes and I hate like I've always had like a really bad I've always had issues with authority. I
Yeah.
was the worst at school. And like yeah, it was just the worst. And like I just hated being put in a box. I hated when people would be like, you've got to do this and this is how you've got to be. And so that kind of like grew this hunger in me to like always wanting to prove people wrong and being like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't do that? Like, watch me. Like, I'm going to do it and more because you
Yeah.
said that.
Do you think that's something that you've carried through with your music, like wanting not putting yourself on a pedestal, but kind of like wanting to just kind of just be better than, or like making music that's just better than what's come before?
What I would have heard. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I mean, I think I only compare myself to myself, but I think there's always like little pockets in the music sphere that you can explore, and it's music is always evolving. So if
Yeah.
you find that like one sound that hasn't been done or like are like the pioneer for that, I guess that kind of like excites me.
Yeah.
It kind of excites me to like try and predict what's next, which I'm sure a lot of artists do. They're like take what is happening now and try and make something new for the future and be
Yeah.
like the first kind of people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely really exciting to think about that.
Yeah. One thing I did want to talk about as well is how let's just say the female presence within the music industry in New Zealand as well, and in Wellington it's very minimal. How is it up in Auckland, kind of like navigating the scene as a female artist? Like, do you notice the differences like between how you're approached and yeah?
I think there is a little bit of a difference. Yeah, there's definitely less like wahine especially in the hip hop sphere.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously like a few great ones.
Mm.
And like shout out to Jess B because fucking killer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do find myself in a lot of scenarios where it's mainly men around me, and I guess that can seem really intimidating to women coming into music and into hip hop mainly. I think that's where the kind of issues,
Yeah.
well, not issues, but like just lack of female presence. Where in like other countries, it might just be because there's more people,
Yeah.
but there's more like female rappers at other places. So yeah, there's definitely not. I don't think girls should be like afraid or intimidated. That would be like my advice. Just
Yeah.
like don't be intimidated, and like it is kind of scary because men have kind of like there's this like tainted thing that like
Yeah.
they have ulterior motives, stuff like that, and you got to be careful with who you're working with in the studio and make sure that it's all good
Mm.
and there's no ulterior motives. So I think that's probably what people are a little bit like hesitant about,
Yeah.
and being like seen for something else. As a woman, we're very like, yeah, it's just what it is.
Yeah. Do you think there's a certain expectation on how you should present yourself as an artist?
As an artist in general, or as a
Yeah.
woman, as an
Just as a, do you think there's an expectation on you as a woman to portray yourself in a certain way within music?
definitely like I do feel some sort of pressure about my physical appearance,
Mm.
carrying myself in public, just because like what I have to compare myself to is like, you know, like Iggy Azalea and like Nicki Minaj, and it's like there's just this like clear body type, and like it's very like appealing to men, like very like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, like I feel a little bit of pressure, but at the end of the day, like I'm always gonna do what I want to do, and I'm always gonna like not give a shit, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like it's in the back of my head, but I don't care. Like I like who I am, and I'm just gonna do and dress however that I want
Mm.
at the end of the day.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What have you struggled with the most as an artist? Like, just very, very broad, very across the board. Like, what are the things that you've struggled with the most?
Probably self-doubt is a huge one. And obviously, like a few years ago, I had crippling stage fright. So getting up on stage has been a nightmare for me up until now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so being like an artist, there's obviously a lot of struggles as with everything, but self-doubt I think is the main one that a lot of people struggle with, and just like the nerves and the pressure.
Yeah.
But if you take that in your stride, you know, and you aim to push through it, like once you get to the other side of it and you push through the doubt, you push through the nerves, it's always going to be good.
Yeah.
It's always going to be good.
No, yeah, I feel like that's...
And you feel accomplished as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that kind of like a lot of upcoming artists or people wanting to do music struggle with quite a lot, because it is a huge thing to, you know, express yourself creatively, because you're not sure how people will...
Super vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
Like you're really letting people, giving them the opportunity to attack you, kind of. And like especially if you're vulnerable in your lyrics.
Yeah, because it's essentially, you know, a part of you as well, and you know, you're just thinking if people don't like it, it's almost like they're not liking you.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of artists be like, when they make music, it's like their baby, and it's like, oh, this is my baby, you know. So it's like when someone criticizes it, it could be taken like that harsh, as if someone was criticizing your own like child.
Yeah.
But I've always stepped away from that, and I've always tried to separate myself from the art.
Yeah.
Just to protect myself. And like the right people will hear it, you know, like the people that it really resonates with.
Yeah.
Like I just love connecting to people and like connecting with people, and if I can connect to people through music and help them, that's just like, even if it's just one person, like that shit will bring me to tears, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
Have you had people tell you that about your new music?
I've had a couple people be like, damn, that song really like hit hard, like that was like exactly how I'm feeling. I've also had people be like, is this about me? And I'm like, maybe not. Don't flatter yourself too much.
How do you react to something like that when someone tells you that your music has affected them in some way?
It's really special. Like, yeah, even just like one person saying something is super special. I mean, like that's the reason why. Well, there's many reasons why I do music, but yeah, just being able to connect to people in this crazy world, I think is super important. Makes me feel good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even if I didn't have that, I would still be doing it.
Yeah. Because doing it for the love of the music, aren't you?
Yeah, I love it so much. It's just such a perfect way to express yourself, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do anything else.
How would you, or what kind of advice would you give to anyone wanting to get into music? Like, what would you encourage them to do, or to, you know, anything like that?
I would say, like, if you're in like if you're starting to make music and you're in a friend group where there's not really many creative people, so for me, like in high school, like I dropped out and I like left all of my friends and I left my group, because you really have to, at the start, like if you're wanting to get into music, you really have to not listen to your friends and not listen to sort of like limiting beliefs in the circle about what you should be doing with your life. And like, there's a big pressure for making money and stuff like that, but if you'll find a way, like find ways to set yourself up so that you can do music viably, like whether you have to work like 1 or 2 jobs, just like do whatever you can. And also, don't give up, just be dedicated and be easy on yourself, but not too easy, like obviously push yourself. And if you're in like a friend group that's not creative, just know that they're gonna have it's gonna be a little bit of pushback. So
It's not an easy thing to,
you'll
cut
make
certain
friends.
people.
You'll make friends in the industry. I've got so many friends now that are creative, and it's beautiful. Hang in there.
Oh gosh, yeah, because I think that's a big problem that's in Wellington with the amount of people that do music. Like it's almost like they're, a bit afraid to, kind of like put themselves out there as well, because it is a bit of a scary thing to do.
Yeah, that's why you really have to want to do it. Like if you're hesitant about even starting, it's obviously not for you.
Yeah.
Like I don't really think I could give advice because all I did was do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do something, you will always find a way. You will always find a way to do something, even if it seems impossible. And like I stand by that heavy.
Yeah.
So if you're like hesitant about it and you're like, I don't want people to judge me, I don't want, like, it's not for you. Don't push yourself if you're gonna be like that scared to even start.
Yeah.
You have to take everything on the chin and be like, okay, I know this is gonna be a journey. Am I going to be able to deal with the bullshit? Like, am I going to be able to deal with hate, rejection? Because you also get rejected a lot. Even if you're good, like, you'll get rejected a lot, and that's just how it is. So don't be, like, disillusioned going into it and think it's all, like, roses. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So if you're not up for it, I would say just don't do it. But, like, if you want to just do music, do it. But don't put all this pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
Just know that there are pressures out there, and either rise to the occasion or do it for fun.
Yeah, because you got to embrace the bad with the good as well.
Yeah, of course, just like everything. I think some people have sort of like expectations in their head that it's like gonna be like this straight road.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Of course, it's not. Like I have people come up to me and be like I want to start getting into music, and all this stuff, and they don't, in their head they think it's like you just have to do this, this, and this, and then you'll get this, but it's not. Like very few people succeed to high levels. So you just have to be really aware of reality.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's certainly not gonna. The path is not gonna be what you think.
And you might not make any money. You might not having expectations of what you think you deserve. That is another thing. That's probably like my biggest advice is don't come into music thinking that you deserve X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people fighting for what you want. Fighting to like be heard. So yeah, like honestly, like as harsh as it is, like don't be a pussy. Like you kind of just have to like deal with it and like know that like you have to love yourself so much that you can stand in front of someone and they like are spitting hate to you or like rejecting you like in front of your face and be like, okay, and move on and go somewhere else and keep pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's like...
And don't give up because of one person.
No, yeah, I think, yeah, that's such a big thing. Like, you're going to get rejected, just keep going. It's sometimes your art's not going to be where it should be, just keep going.
Yeah, and sometimes it's because of sheer numbers. Like, so I send out demos and I send out like vocal top lines. I'll send out like one thing to probably like 10 to 20 people on Instagram, and like half of them will be like you know, and then there'll be that one person that's like, this is fucking crazy, like this is amazing.
Yeah.
And like it took all of that rejection to find that one person that loved it and made it and could see the vision for it. So like it is a numbers game. Just because some person, like you go to one person, they don't like it, there's going to be somebody that likes it, you know?
Yeah, all it takes is just one person.
Yeah, but if you really believe in it, like if you don't believe in something, you're not gonna go through the hassle of sending it to like all these people. So you have to really believe in something to keep, you know, pushing through it for it.
Yeah, you got to be your own biggest fan. Like,
exactly.
If you don't like it, why should they?
Yeah, and no one to like, don't have that like expectation on yourself that. Yeah, I've like definitely given up on things. I've sent something out and then be like, actually, no, that's not great. Or like the next morning, I'm like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I should have slept on it maybe, and I just delete the message.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah, something I've found, like, I mean, I think I've found that because the market is so huge, like, that kind of motivates me in what I do. Like, the fact that I know that there is other people doing it, it's like, yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's just weird. It's like, yeah, like, knowing that there are other people doing the same thing that I do, that makes me just want to just go even harder. Yeah,
it sort of shines a light on yourself. It's sort of like, I don't really have any excuses because these people are doing the same thing. Yeah, so I think you could take it positively or negatively. Yeah. I always try to take things in a positive light nowadays.
Yeah,
because why not? Like,
you got to have a good perspective on things.
Yeah, it's really easy to go into like a negative loop, in this industry, and I have been there before. Like last year, it was all bad vibes, but this year I've come with a different approach, and it's worked wonders for me. Yeah. So be positive because you'll get positivity brought back to you, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
The last question I want to ask you is, firstly, you're in Wellington right now because of the Rags to Riches show. Unfortunately, this will come out after it.
That's so good.
But what does the rest of 2023 look like for you?
I've got a few projects in the works. I'm releasing a song every month for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
So I just played a show with Vana opening for her, which was a crazy experience. Yeah. Something I was very grateful to be a part of. I'm releasing a lot more tunes that are kind of hip-hop and D&B merged. And yeah, like you'll just see a lot of projects come out from me and probably a couple features, D&B features. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been dope.
I will... Sorry, I'll start again. Thank you for being on the podcast. Where can people find you and your music?
You can find me, Indy Skies, everywhere. Mainly Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, all Indy Skies. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here from me. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Sweet.